Alright, this is the Talking Trampoline, and welcome back to another episode of the Grunkle dating simulator. I'm really excited because we basically ended Stanley's path. Now we're going to start Ford's path. I'm really fucking excited. Good old road trips, we all know this. I'm gonna skip this part. Whoop. Type in your name. What's up, Ford? You're next. Elise. Pronouns she, her. Elise, I'm Stanford Pines. Ford for short. I would shake your hand, but you look shaken up enough as it is. You seem fine as far as I can tell, but you shouldn't head back out there anytime soon. Where on earth were you driving in such a hurry? You open your mouth to explain when a voice calls from inside the house. Poindexter, this better not be one of your experiments again. I've had this place rebuilt too many times to... The owner of the voice walks out of the house and stops slack-jawed at the side of your car in the side of your guessing his house. It's cooking. Good look. You must have hit your head earlier because you could swear you're seeing double. Double trouble. Sweet Moses, Ford, you've done it this time. What? This had nothing to do with me. I was testing my magnet gun, and it must have pulled this victim of circumstance into the house. I suppose it is entirely my fault. I'm incredibly sorry. Let's reassure him this time. Unsure of why you're reassuring this mystery man who just wrecked your car, you give an awkward shrug. It's alright? No, I must have done something wrong. A wire mix-up, perhaps, or the potentiometer? We're talking about your other mistake, Sixer. Oh, right. Hey, look, it's fine, alright? Sure, there's a dent in the hood from the shack's lineage. I'm already fucking up, can you believe it? Signage! And a crack in the windshield that looks like an ominous triangle. Dun dun dun, Illuminati confirmed. But I'm sure she'll still run. You start to try out the car. It sputters, but ultimately nothing happens. You feel like crying. Oh. Well, let's call a tow truck for this unfortunate soul here, and forget I'll take care of it. You're right, it is cheaper to tow it yourself, Sixer. Get the magnet gun out again. No, Stanley, I'm going to fix this. What? Ha! You fix this mess. I figured out a few alien vehicles in my time. Nah, you kidding me? It takes some sort of miracle worker to bring this baby back to life, and this miracle worker is on vacation. Stanley, a moment. Ford and Stanley turn away, and you're left to your thoughts. Who could anticipate a car accident like this in the middle of a road trip? You can take care of the car, but how are you going to get home? They run buses out here, right? So you take a bus out of here, and then... Ford clears his throat, shifting a little awkwardly in place. Seems like they finished their talk. So there are a few options. My brother Stanley here could drive you out of town to find a place to stay for the night, or you could stay the night here. Okay, so this isn't actually very interesting, so I'm gonna cut right through footages, because why not? There we go. Okay. Okie dokie. Get to know Ford. Ford, wait! Need a hand with that recipe? I can handle it myself. Are you sure you couldn't use a hand? Ford looks away, and then, as you follow his averted line of sight to Mabel, who's just mouthed something that you couldn't catch. When she catches you looking her way, Mabel gives a 100-watt smile, the picture of innocence. Ford rubs the back of his neck. Yes, I suppose I can accept some help. And with that, assured that Ford is on the task, you spot Mabel rolling away with Waddles into the living room. New. There she goes. Before we get started, I suppose I should give you an introduction. Elise, tell me, do you believe in the supernatural? I want to. Well, you're about to come face to face with the unexplainable, yourself. You see, Gravity Falls is just some quiet, unassuming backwater town. Much more lurks below its surface. Ford pockets the crumpled journals, papers, and gestures for you to join him as he walks. You do, and follow him through the living room and into the gift shop. For example, you must have heard Mabel mention a pterodactyl. Most would say none exist in the living world today, but I say not if you know where to look. If anyone else told you this, you'd be disinclined to believe them, but the authority Ford carries is surprisingly compelling. Ford reaches under the cashier counter and retrieves a packet of vintage-looking gum, inspecting it for a moment before slipping it in his pocket, and he looks around in thought. Hold on to my explanation for the moment. I need to retrieve some more supplies. Okie dokie. Ford ushers you out of the gift shop entrance so that you find yourself on the outside of the shack, then shuts the door behind you. Okay. Turn and try to peer through the window. Respect the man's privacy. He's clearly got business in that gift shop. Well, let's not be rude. You correctly and politely just stand out there until Ford returns. You maybe scan the sky for a pterodactyl while you wait. Not too long later, the door opens behind you and Ford joins you outside, looking no different than before. He must have stored whatever supplies he went to retrieve in his coat, but the trench coat falls too naturally on his figure for him to be hiding much. Where are we? Ah, yes. Ford pulls a pen and a pad of paper from his coat, walking as he writes. Just as you're about to head out, he stops and smacks his hand to his face. Oh shoot, 1 second. Ford hurries back to the house, realizing he forgot one important component for his adventure, a butterfly net. Before you get a chance to ask, he strides out ahead of you, obviously in no mind to tell you what it's for quite yet. Sorry about that. I got distracted by my throat begging for water. Oh my god, it's a really hot day today. The pair of you walk past the shack and down a well-worn path into the streets. Poopy in my pants. Into the trees surrounding the house, sunlight peeking between the pines. He double checks whatever he scribbled onto the paper and tucks it back into one of his coat's seemingly infinite pockets. He stops and turns to face you with a definite nod. Okay, I gotta comment on the pockets, because why can't girls' pants and jackets not come with so much pockets? Stanford, tell me your secrets. Where do you buy your shit? Because I need more pockets. I need it. For my phone, for my cash, for everything. My recipe for repellent called for a sprig of lavender, 2 thin slices of ginseng, a drop of bed blood, a chunk of amber, and 3.5 milliliters of ink. He pauses, staring down at the path in thought. Obviously, I already have all those components on hand, all except for one last ingredient, a single moth's wing, from Mothman itself. You can't help it. You gasp. Ford glances at you, and you think you see a hint of a smile before he turns back to the path and continues along, the wind ruffling through his hair. Okay, let's be honest, he's laughing at me, because imagine him very dramatically saying, Mothman, and you're just like a girl in a horror movie, like, Mothman, whatever will we do? That's what I'm imagining right now. I swear my mind is full of cartoons. I am a cartoon. You see, Mothman is the very creature on that page that Waddle seems to fear. Using a piece of itself should ward it away, or at least lead it to believe that wattles isn't for eating. I would have already completed the repellent years ago if I had managed to collect that wing. Was it too difficult? Oh, I just never got around to it. Besides, Mothman used to come bat at this lamp I had lit out in the backyard. It seemed like such an innocent hobby that I never had the heart to chase it off. But if this brings Mabel and her pig a peace of mind, then the time has come to finish this. Sunlight filters in through the trees, causing a dappled shadows across Ford's coat as he leads in front of you. That's awesome. I can already imagine it. Break the silence. How much further are we walking? About a mile or so. While Mothman's home is in West Virginia, I found that he has a summer vacation home in none other than Gravity Falls. And by home, I mean cave in the woods. It's a nice place if you like the dark. How do you know so much about this stuff? I study anomalies. Anything unusual, strange, or just plain weird. I began my research in this town because it was, and remains, a hotbed of paranormal activity. I made this exact trip years ago, though at the time, I had no idea where I was going. It was just dumb luck that I managed to tail Mothman back to this cave from my backyard. Navigating the forest by moonlight is poetic, but not advisable. I can imagine so. I made plenty of other discoveries as well, from fairies to gnomes to amalgams and creatures who were never meant to cross to... wait! Ford reaches into his pocket and pulls out the slightly crumpled pages Mabel had pushed into his hands earlier, smoothing them out and ruffling through them. Take a look at these. They are more definitive proof than just my word. You accept the pages from him and find that they are scanned pages from some sort of journal, just as you'd heard Mabel say. Fluid cursive tells of Mothman, beard cubs, campfires, and more. Ford gestures to them and explains. I detailed my discoveries in a series of research journals, the remaining pages at least. I wonder where Stanley was keeping these. You drew these? Yes, of course, who else? I've seen better. Talk about fucking bitter. What the fuck? Okay, give an ambiguous nod of acknowledgement. Let's see. Ford is a really good artist. I have taken a look in his journals. I mean, who hasn't? Who watched the show? These ink washes look so masterfully executed. Let's suck up to his ass. My work now is far better, but I appreciate the compliment. Despite his understated words, Ford looks surprisingly pleased. Were any of these creatures ever dangerous? Oh, extremely. Some were worse, dangerously annoying. Though Ford seems to find his own comment amusing, he doesn't fail to notice your unease. I do have weapons in case things escalate, so there's no need to worry. You brought weapons? Not many. I have a stun gun, my fists, and my sharp wit. Well, I feel safe already. I feel safer already. Oh, Jesus. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You didn't bring your magnet gun? I thought it would be prudent to leave its magnetic fields alone for a while until I have time to optimize it. You see, I was trying to widen the area of magnetic influence, but it's been a while since I last worked with the gun. I needed to refamiliarize myself with its inner workings. My guess is I switched the wrong wire or two and instead narrowed the beam. I'd like to see how it works sometime. Really? You know, if you're interested in devices like that, my old research colleague Fiddleford would have more to show you. He's the engineering genius around here. You must have gotten up to some pretty crazy stuff back then. Oh, that's one way to put it. Only took 6 years for me to get in over my head. He takes a silent moment to look away from your gaze, seemingly in bittersweet remembrance. Bill. Fucking Bill. Jackass. I don't like him. Who likes Bill? Ask him about these creatures. It says here that Mothman turns into a bunch of moths? Yes, that's how we'll get the moth wing. Then why not use mothballs as repellent? Well, I've never tried. Could the most conventional method be the unconventional one? Or would Mothman be able to overcome its mothly nature and persist? Questions. Why don't you experiment a little bit, Ford? You mentioned gnomes? Other places have rats, mice, or insects as house pests. We have gnomes. Picture your typical garden gnome, but more disturbing. Yep. We'll never forget you, Mabel. Because we're going to kidnap you. That wasn't disturbing at all, no, sorry. I doubt we'll spot it today, but perhaps we can go bird watching later if you're interested. Oh, it's a date, big boy. So about this leprechaun. Ford groans. You wait to further answer, but that's it. Me too, buddy, me too. There are floating eyeballs here? Sounds disconcerting, doesn't it? I once released them in my house by accident and found eyeballs in the most unsuspecting places for months. My guests chose not to comment on my choice of house decor. Gravity Falls is home to giant vampire bats? Giant fruit bats, actually. They were among the first to teach me not to judge a creature by its reputation. I only realized they were harmless once I'd been bitten by one. Oh no, that still sounds pretty bad. It actually healed up quite fast. I attribute that to the health kick I was on soon after. Health kick? Did you mean you got vegan or something? You mentioned a gremgoblin? Nay, what? A gremloblin. A rare specimen that I've since steered clear of when accompanied by others. Though if you want to see one in person, I'm sure it wouldn't hurt to walk into that situation again for the sake of education. Okay, let's walk in silence. That's all she had to ask. Suddenly, Ford puts an arm out in caution, slowing his pace. You narrowly manage not to collide with him and take a quick glance around to see nothing? Look, there. You see what looks like a bundled up plaid shirt moving along the first floor. Wait, is that a beaver's tail? It looks like a platypus. What are you doing all the way out here? Don't you mean platypus? Ford shakes his head with a grin. I meant what I said. It's a platypus. A platypus. Ford moves into a crouch, but stays at a respectable distance, following the small creature. You watch him, and after a moment, mimic his actions. Ford's giving the creature a bright smile, the first of its kind that you've seen since leaving Mabel at the shack. You're a cute one, aren't you? And in one of my favorite patterns, too. Ford motions for you to move forward a little more, to the distance he's maintaining. If I were to rate the oddities that live in this forest on a scale of least to most annoying, these little guys would get immunity. They have done nothing wrong and I appreciate them for it. As the two of you watch in quiet appreciation, the platypus ambles into the underbush and vanishes from view. What a cute little guy. Aww. The two of you continue deeper in the forest. The foliage seems denser now, and you look through the treetops for a glimpse of the sun, which has by now dropped low into the sky. It had already been getting late when you left, but you hadn't thought Mothman would be this far out. Almost as though he'd read your mind, Ford answers for you. Mothman is rather reclusive and as such lives deeper within the forest than bolder creatures like the gnomes. Are you alright? Huh? That is, are you tired at all? I should have asked sooner, it's just Been a long time since I traveled with anyone new. Stanley tends to speak his mind without my asking. I'm tired. It was a long walk. I understand. We can rest here until sunset. Fun fact about myself. I'm born without a thyroid gland and I can't do a lot of basic stuff. So, for example, one time I fainted while doing the dishes. The dishes. That's fucking embarrassing. I fainted after doing the dishes. I am weak, man. It's upsetting. You mentioned traveling with Stan. I suppose it wouldn't do any harm to tell you. He says that, but the tone of his voice says he's been dying to tell someone for months. Lay it on me, man. Lay it all on me. I've been sailing with Stanley around the world, chasing after hotspots of anomalous activity. He seemed to view it as a vacation, but I saw it as a chance to pick back up on some serious research. I've been rather eager to break the news of what we found to the world, but I must first organize my findings. And if I'm honest, I still need some time to get back in the swing of things. Must be strange to come back home after traveling so long, huh? More than you know. Ford laughs, shaking his head. Behind his glasses, his eyes are downcast, almost sad. You want to ask, but decide to stay silent. Oh, he's probably referring to the 30 years he spent in another universe. That's probably what he means by that. The moment the sun touches the horizon through the gaps in the treetops, Ford gestures the two of you to continue. You hadn't noticed, but you'd been resting within short distance of a small clearing that holds a cylindrical stone marker. The stone marker bears intricate swirls carved into its surface. Ford reaches into his coat and produces the packet of gum from earlier, opening it and dumping the pieces out into his palm. Gum? Thanks, I like gum. I like gum. Unsure of why you came all the way out here to unwrap gum at sunset, you accept a stick of gum. Ford puts the remaining gum in his coat breast pocket. Maybe for the sugar? He unwraps the now empty gum packet to reveal that it was hiding a small piece of parchment, folded up to act as lining. He smooths it out against a stone, holding it under the deep orange-red light of the sunset. You step closer to look over Ford's shoulder. The parchment holds a detailed drawing of the swirls carved into the stone, documenting every crack on the surface. As you watch, a golden cursive unfolds itself across the page, seemingly fueled by the sunset's warm light. Ford reads the words as they appear. Such a place the Mothman doth rest, but please do not disturb his nest. If kindness be something thou bereft. Ford lifts the parchment a little higher to prevent his shadow from obscuring the rest of the line. Follow thy nature and turn left. I think we turn left. Just a hunch. Just a hunch. I don't know what gives me the hunch, but I think so, Elise. We press onward. Onwards, my mighty steed. Left leads you to a dimly lit cave, which Ford says he remembers well. Except last time he was there, it was pitch black since he arrived in the middle of the night. From its depths you hear the faint sound of dripping water echoing off the cave's shadow-shrouded walls. You slow as your eyes attempt to adjust to the low light. I love the lighting. Holy crap, it looks so impressive. Ford pauses in front of you, reaching into his coat for something. Hold on, I have a flashlight. Let's save. This is a good moment to save because apparently I can't talk right now. I have a flashlight in here somewhere. This cave has never received much natural light, you see, and He rummages further and you see a couple dice, the pad of paper from earlier, and the quill. A quill? Harry Potter style right there. He has some custom pocket work going on in there, and you bet it's one of his coat's inner pockets has a pen protector in it. Here we are, at last. Allow me to... Darn, out of batteries. Wait, I think I have one. You pull out your phone and turn on its flashlight. The light is small, but it does its job. Huh. You saved our hides here, Elise. I was about to pull out a matchbook. With your lighting guiding the way, you and Ford move further into the cave, which yawns wide around you. It isn't until the sliver of natural light from the entrance disappears that Ford speaks up again. It's been years since I've been here, decades even at this point, but I always remember the eye bats as one of my first discoveries when I arrived at Gravity Falls. How did you find them in the first place? One got into my house, you see. I was making breakfast one morning and one managed to find my cereal box. When I poured the cereal into the box, it came fluttering out agitated like it belonged there. The nerve! He still sounds so indignant even years later that you laugh. I wanted to contain it for further study, but unfortunately it managed to get away. As I thought about it afterwards, its pupil had constricted against the light, unfamiliar of the bright light in the kitchen. So either it's nocturnal or it lives in the deepest, darkest cave in Gravity Falls. I found them easily after that. Smart. Did you manage to catch one? Somewhat. I came running through this cave with a butterfly net and my wits. I brought a working flashlight that time. They all hid in the dark corners. Once I turned the flashlight off, they flocked to me. I caught 18 of them that day, but it reminded me of stealth uses of. The rapid sounds of clicking claws against stone startles you and the shiver runs up your spine. The dark. Dun dun dun. You turn off your light, Ford taps your shoulder and gestures for you to keep moving forward. Eventually, the narrow passage widens into a larger room. The darkness shrouds the source of the dripping water from view. But as your eyes adjust, you squint to see a strange winged shadow. A shadow with eyes that glow red in near darkness like rubies. Your breath catches in your throat as the realization comes over to you. Ford is apparently fairly close to you in the room. You find when he speaks a few inches from your shoulder. You catch the shadow of his arms swing out in a wide arc, like he's introducing you to... Elisa, I'd like you to meet the Mothman. He whispers, but even in the dark you see him grinning excitedly at you. Ford looks between you and the Mothman. Why am I yawning so much already? It's not even... It's 14:57. The fuck? Apparently hoping for a dramatic reaction. Your speechlessness seems to satisfy him. Don't worry, it hasn't noticed us yet. Here's the plan. You make contact with Mothman, and he pulls out a butterfly net and large lidded jar. Now where that one came from within his coat of mysteries is lost to you. We'll capture one of these 100 moths that comprise it. Wait, I get to touch Mothman? The Mothman? Yes, and it turns into 100 black witch moths. It's like experiencing a swarm of locusts. Surprising when you're not expecting it. Remember, even just a light touch is enough. What the fuck is wrong with me? You steel yourself, waiting for its signal. He waves his hand to coax you forward, and then it's up to you to decide how to, well, make contact. Run around back to its blind spot. You know what? I'm going to save, actually. This is a good spot to save. I'm digging the music. Woo! Run around to its blind spot. As you sprint around the winged creature, you slip into a puddle of water on the floor and fall flat on your face. Oh my god. Ugh. It is something I would do. Your phone skids away across the floor face down, sinking your surroundings back into darkness. Still, you manage to grab one of Mothman's legs before you fall in and find yourself clutching nothing in the midst of a fluttering cloud of moths. Rather inelegant, but hey, whatever works in the heat of the moment, right? Ford dashes forward and manages to scoop one up in the net, dropping it into the jar and popping the lid back on top. Got one. You can get up now, Elise. That was amazing. Ford laughs, brushing dust and dirt off his trench coat. You could say that. Our compelled repellent is within sight. Let's head back. Ford turns to leave the cave. He looks calm and content. You, on the other hand, are buzzing with energy under an adrenaline rush. Should you go for a high five? Yes! High five me, bro. You raise your hand in a universally understood offer of a high five. Ford pauses, then grins, high-fiving you. Or rather, 6. High 6, my dude. When you and Ford finally reach the cave entrance, you find the forest that you'd left in the dying light is now awash with a silvery glow. A gap between the leaves overhead provides view of the night sky, along with a long string of stars. Stop yawning already. A few more steps and the Milky Way comes into view, looking as if a tear across the fabric of the sky. Ford notices you looking. See something? The pterodactyl doesn't usually come out this late, but being a prehistoric creature, its behavior is rather unpredictable. I've never seen the Milky Way in person before. I actually haven't. It looks amazing, isn't it? It's remarkable what you can see without light pollution from the city. Here on the outskirts of town you can see a good portion of the Milky Way every night. It gazes up into the night sky. A whole year has passed, yet it still feels strange to see a sky I recognize. What? Oh, traveling. You know, I was in a different part of the world. Nice save, my dude. You both stare up at the sky in a comfortable silence for a few more moments. The quiet of the forest settles in, along with the distant sound of good flowing water, and you find yourself surprisingly glad that Ford had accidentally pulled you here, if this is one of the moments you get to experience. Out of the corner of your eye, you swear you see Ford looking at you instead of up. But when you tilt your head back down, his attention is elsewhere. Eventually, the two of you come to a wordless mutual agreement to continue on, and you're walking again. You'll have to show me the other creatures that live here sometime. You're glad you said so when you look over and find that Ford looks pleasantly surprised to hear it. His chest puffs out with pride. Of course. Maybe we'll even get to spot the hide behind, or tag along with Dipper when he next visits the multi-bear. The what? Ford taps his temple, grinning. You'd have to wait until I show you to find out. I'm holding you to that. We have some time left before we get back if you're up for another walk. You must make a face because Ford looks back to you and laughs. We're not far, I promise. I just thought I might answer a few of your questions if you have any. Actually, I do have questions. Let's question this fucker. You might stay in great shape if you do this all day. Ha, you know, actually, this sort of thing isn't part of my exercise regimen. Ford turns left at the stone marker towards the sound of the driver, and sure enough, after a while it comes into view. The moonlight illuminates the water as you walk along it. Hey, it's the lake. After following the river for quite a few minutes, the shoreline expands into a small round lake in the center of the clearing. Overhanging is a large flat rock, the kind that could be used as a less than effective diving board in times of emergency. The emergency being that one just had to jump into the lake. However, neither yourself or Ford really look in the direction of the diving board. He leads you towards the edge of the lake and where a relatively flat boulder could substitute for a bench, and the two of you take a seat. This one. You said to wait, but can I at least get a preview of what I'd be getting into? Not content to leave them to discover yourself, huh? Well, has anyone ever told you about the Gobblewonker? You snort, taken aback by the name, but compose yourself when Ford simply raises an eyebrow. I don't think so, no. Not even in the tourist guide? Does the office even read my letters? Ford mutters to himself something about updating the tourist guide to warn against local dangers. He sighs with a frustration that's reserved for bureaucracy, but soon lightens up at the prospect of getting to introduce you to other strange creatures. Well, the Gobblewonker is a large sea creature that lives in this very lake. You could say it's our version of the Loch Ness Monster. My old research assistant apparently saw it at one point. He said it was large, grey and scaly, with a long neck like a giraffe. You won't have had any sightings yet, have you? It's only been 24 hours. But my own first encounter with the strange occurred shortly after my arrival as well. Or maybe. What's maybe? Did something happen and I missed it? I saw Mabel stick kitten-shaped stickers all over her face today. That must count for something, right? Ford laughs. I'll be sure to write that anomaly down once we get back to the shack. Ask about his family. So, what is Mabel like? In short, a force to be reckoned with. She radiates charm and positivity, has depths of determination I can only guess at. You'll find out for yourself, most likely. It's hard not to wake up one day and find yourself her friend. Perhaps you already are. He wiggles his fingers spookily in the air, and you laugh. I don't doubt it. What's Dipper like? Dipper is very intelligent. In many years he reminds me of, well, myself. Last summer he found the research journals I mentioned and instead of overlooking them, made some impressive contributions of his own. And he has since started his own journal, and I look forward to see where life will take him. He's made me prouder than I can say. Aw, that's nice. Who is Soos? The handyman. Soos. Well, I'm still not sure what he does exactly, but Stan gave him the rights to conduct his business with the shack, so he spends his day giving out tours, selling merchandise, fooling the townsfolk. I guess following the townsfolk would be pretty creepy, huh? Giving no refunds and the like. I may not have been around the original Mystery Shack very often while Stan was still running it, but I believe Soos is doing the brand name good. What is Stan like? Stubborn, foolhardy, a liar and a cheapskate, but a true hero at heart. There's no one else I'd rather call my brother. Ask about the Mystery Shack. Ah, yes. The Mystery Shack used to be my house once upon a time, and now it's a tourist trap. I'm glad for what it's become as a home. I just wish it weren't so offending to each of the senses. Ask about staying. Are you really okay with me staying here? Absolutely. I owe it to you, after all. You helping me today, however, was not part of the plan. You're making it rather hard to settle my debt. I think you did me a favor just by letting me come along today. The two of you share a smile. Ask Ford about the stars. You ask Ford if he has a favorite constellation, and his answer comes faster than you expected. Orion and Ursa Major, without a doubt. What about you? I have no idea what these lower things are, so I just like the star in general. So in a sense, they're all your favorite. Ford looks out across the lake in thought. Elisa, I have to admit, I didn't want to take you with me earlier today. I thought I'd be walking myself into an uncomfortable social situation. So did you, to be honest. And you did well out there. Not many tourists could handle the kind of task we just completed. This has the potential to have gone disastrously. I mean, a butterfly net against Mothman? easily a 3% success rate. Sometimes the more Ford speaks, the less reassured you feel, until all that's left is a distant unease. You smile and nod anyway. The two of you sit in another moment of quiet. Air pleasantly chill around you. Night air pleasantly chill around you. Until Ford again breaks it. We should head back now. I'm sure Mabel will want to hear we've been successful. You stand and give Ford a hand up from the makeshift bench. Ford takes the lead again, and soon you're no longer able to catch sight of the lake when you glance back. Ford gradually adjusts his pace to yours, walking side by side with you in a companionable silence all the way back to the shack. Almost there. You recognize from the incredibly flashing signs touting phrases like Mystery Shack this way and Sasquatch to your left that you are extremely close to arriving back at the shack. As you and Ford leave the tree line, you see the bright lights shining on the porch. You make out the faint outline of the kids in shadows as they run through the house and emerge in the attic wingome? Oh my god, I'm so tired of my own bullshit. On the attic window, and Mabel pushes it open, leaning out. Grunkle Ford! Finally! You guys took so long I had time to cover waddles and macaroni. Well, that can't be good for waddles. Why would you do that? I have my reasons. Did you get the thing? Yes, and I'm coming inside so we can't stop shouting. Elise, come along. We've got a pig to save. Ford strides back into the shack, a man on a mission. You grin and follow, but not before taking a last look at the night sky. Yeah, maybe your stay won't be too bad after all. Back inside the shack, this grand conclusion to your expedition to the Mothman's cave is spritzing Mabel's pig with the newly finished deterrent until the poor piglet reeks of lavender. You see Mabel and Dipper head back up to bed, looking sleepier than usual as a result. Something about lavender is so soothing to the senses that you crash out fairly soon afterwards, face first on your makeshift bed. Oh, he looks like a goober. Look at those derpy eyes. Okay. Well, let's do the part with the diner. You wake up to a loud crash downstairs. Not entirely uncommon in this house, you're quickly finding out, but still disconcerting. Okay, let's just skip this part. Let's go out for breakfast. Mabel isn't taking that shit. Dipper, can you cook? Let's go with scrambled eggs and bacon this time. I do like me some eggs and bacon. Well, in the Netherlands we don't actually eat bacon for breakfast. We can eat eggs though. There we go. Just keep skipping until the Grunkles show up. Hey, there they are. We wondered where you went once we came back to a suspiciously quiet house. If it weren't for Dipper's note, we would have been worried. Sixer would have been worried. I tried to tell him you kids pull this kind of stuff all the time. Heading out unannounced, putting stress on your poor Grunkle's heart. He puts a hand over his heart dramatically. All those missing hours of unpaid child labor. Actually, that note wasn't me. Well, I wrote it, but Elise is the one who said we should do that, so you know where we went. Both Stan and Ford turned to look at you surprised. Really? Figured these two knuckleheads dragged you here. Why not make breakfast at home? This place is at least a 50-minute walk from the shack. Well, you glance at Dipper, swiping his finger across Mabel's cheek and licking the blueberry syrup off. Mabel has a pancake in her mouth, chewing on it like a grazing sheep. I wanted to treat them to something, I guess. It's the least I can do. You're letting me stay here and you're fixing my car. I thought since you were gone, I'd take these two out for a change. Also, Mabel was gonna make Mabel cakes again. You're just mad you can't even make toast right. But yes, I can. I burned it one time. One time. Dipper holds his syrup-tipped finger in the air, indignant. Well, Mabel wanted you guys to enjoy her Mabel cakes too, and since there wasn't much food, I figured I'd take them out. Stan snatches the pancake from Mabel's mouth and takes a bite out of it, cackling when she stands on the seat to try and grab it back, climbing over Dipper to reach. Aside from the kerfuffle, you catch Fort's eye. Was he staring at you? As soon as he realizes, he quickly sets his gaze elsewhere, looking over your head and out of the window. You'd say that he probably just shifted his attention, but his finger hooks under the high neck of his sweater and he tugs at it. Ah, blushy boy! The best boy. Well, Elise, I really appreciate you looking after Dipper and Mabel for us. Smooth. It was very nice of you to bring them here. Oh, it wasn't a big deal, really. I'm happy to help. You smile at him, pretending you don't feel how warm your face is. Maybe it's just hot and greasy. Ford looks close to the shade of his sweater. Dipper mumbles an ow as you catch Mabel elbowing his side, wriggling her brows at him. You're not sure why. Well, kid, if you're paying, scoot over, Dipper. I want breakfast too. Stanley, it's at least 12:30 now. Grunkle 4, that means it's time for brunch. Duh. See, this kid gets me. Now let me in so I can get some grub. Dipper moves to your side of the booth as Stan sits next to Mabel, and Ford sits at Dipper's side. Lazy Susan comes back and takes orders for another round of food and drinks for everyone, including Mabel, who decided she wants more pancakes. You're starting to regret offering to pay, but as Stan and Mabel try their hand at syrup drip race, with Dipper cheering them on, Ford watching with a wide grin on his face, you know you don't really mind that much. After the expedition to find Mothman, you accompanied Ford on a few other missions, so to speak, examining various birds of the forest, including the questionable stomach-faced duck, who snatched your sandwich and quickly ran off, Ford in hot pursuit. While he didn't find what evidence he needed, something to do with their digestive systems, you both decided that the stomach-faced duck flock were questionable. Not as questionable as the question quail, which he shows you from a scanned journal page, but is still questionable. You asked why he decided the octopus was too stupid to study, but received a loud groan and too sticky as an answer. Valid point. All in all, your adventures with Ford have been more enjoyable than you expected, and you can't help but hope you get to experience another one with him soon. You walk through the living room, lost in thought about question quills and Ford's journal pages, and narrowly avoid slipping on a sheet of graph paper. Ah, don't look! Oh, it's you. Don't look and break your neck! Oh, no, that's fine, it's you, it's fine. Dipper peers out over a book that proclaims D&D and more D, officially licensed campaign journal. He's sitting on the yellow armchair with the crisscrossed legs barricaded with books and papers. He's got a lap of multicolored dice, had half a dozen chewed pencils strewn across the floor, and one in his mouth. He looks down and notices the floor is almost entirely covered in graph paper. Hi? Did you need something? I know it's kind of messy. I should probably clean that up. Dipper looks reluctant to extract himself from his self-constructed fantasy lore prison. Here, I can do it. You look busy. You're about halfway through cleaning the floor when you actually start looking at what's on various sheets you're holding. A fantasy map, some floor plans, a countless scribbled notes, and calculations in the margins. What are these for? Planning something? Dipper's re-immersed in his planning. He startles a little when you ask. Oh, right. No big deal. It's just for this great pen and paper role-playing game called Dungeons, Dungeons and More Dungeons. DD and MD for short. It's all about fantasy worlds and statistics and swords, and well, it's kind of difficult to explain, but it's super fun. I'm playing with Grunkle 4 today, so I'm just putting down the final touches on my dungeon. He's gonna be so stumped. Stumped, you say? Ford comes into the room at that precise moment, drying his hands on his trench coat. Perfect timing, Dipper. I just managed to get the paint off my hands. Paint from what? Oh, one of the gnomes came by and decided he'd graffiti the side of the house, something about his rapper persona. Yeesh. Yeah, I don't think G. Gnomezi is going anywhere in the music business. In any event, I see you've been hard at work. Are you ready for our game? Oh, yeah, and Elisa, I can take those now. Thanks for the help. Ford looks like he just noticed you standing there for the first time since he entered the room. Elise, glad to see you weren't too shaken up by your adventure yesterday. You grin and hand Dipper the tall stack of papers, catching a glimpse of the stats for a knock-knock skull. Well, I made it back in one piece, right? That's the spirit. Though 90% of a piece would be good too, you know, you never realize how little a different 10% makes until you lose it. Uh-huh. So how was the Mothman? Chicken up. All in the name of research though. I've seen it lose a few moths and come back the next week good as new, a process akin to cycling out dead cells. I would say we just expedited that process. No moral issues here. Well, ladies, the game calls and I must answer. Stanley's about if you're looking for him, though, well, if you wanted to join our game, I certainly wouldn't object. I can promise a fun afternoon. Another player? Yeah, totally. I can give you a pre-made character sheet to start and dice. Shoot, where I put my other set. Don't worry, I've got an extra set. Me? I don't even know how to play. Oh man, there are so many rules. Where to start? I mean, it's really easy to pick up. It's like a kind of a popular now. You're not sure about committing the whole afternoon to this game with Ford, though Dipper does seem pretty excited about it. But Stan's around too, and you wanted to go check on your car. Well, think about it, Elisa. Dipper, my boy, why don't you and I get this thing set up in the meantime? Ford and Dipper launch into fantasy lore talk as they prop up a cork board against the yellow armchair, pin up various maps and floor plans with important landmarks, and append their pouches and of dice in the carpet. Let's go join their game. But I am actually going to end the episode here because for some fucking reason I keep yawning and I think I really need a nap. So I'll see you guys in the next episode later. Howdo!